Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Daily Bolt with your host, Dr. Jeff Tilley. Today's topic: the Alarmist media have done it again. The hottest June on record. Sit back and relax and enjoy this edition of the Daily Bolt. So, as promised, we're off of education for a while, and we're back to kind of science topics of the day or the week. And the one that I'm going to tackle today is the one that the media, of course, picked up on and made a big to-do about. That the global temperature for June 2019 was the hottest on record, again, breaking the previous hottest June from 2017. And of course, with this comes all sorts of interpretations about, well, global warming's getting worse. We have another hottest June. And it's like, well, if you're in a warming climate, you're going to expect to break records on a regular basis. So let's not, get that alarmed. Let's start bringing the alarm level down just a little bit. But of course, it doesn't fit the narrative that some of these media outlets want, which is that the climate is spiraling out of control, which it perhaps is not. Why do I say this? Well, as usual, the media reports are often simplified. They look at the most simplified statistic, and they don't really look at the context of the statistic as well. And so in this particular case, we've got all of the above going on. So if you go and dig into the report, which you can do, you can find it online. If you want to know the address, just Google June 2019 Global Climate Report, and it will take you there. And you will see far more information than is quoted in the actual report. And in fact, you can go back multiple months, multiple years, and look at lots of different things. There's lots of supplemental material, lots of things to look at. So what the media have grasped onto is the fact that averaged over the globe with the most recent techniques of retrieving temperatures, which include both what we call in situ observations. Hold up a thermometer in the air and read the temperature. That's a simple version of doing that. There's actually screened thermometer shelters that are used and other methods that are right there at the point it's measuring. That's what's called an in situ measurement. And remote measurements from satellites in space with various instruments on them. So, this global temperature change that was reported was the equivalent of 0.04 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0.02 degrees Celsius. Less than a tenth of a degree Fahrenheit, less than a 20th of a degree Fahrenheit difference from the June 2017 averaged global June temperature. So that's not very big, and in fact, it is well within the error bars of instrumental observations and remote observations. Meaning, from a statistical point of view, it is not statistically different from the June 2017 average global temperature. So, statistically speaking, it's not really indicating that it's the hottest June on record on a global sense. What does that mean? That's another point. We don't have very high resolution temperature information everywhere. We do have many individual temperature observations at the ground, these in situ, that exist in networks across the United States, Canada, many other countries as well, especially Europe and parts of Asia and Australia. However, elsewhere we have to use much coarser information, satellite techniques, various instruments that don't always have the same spatial resolution or even temporal resolution. So you have to do a lot of averaging. And in that averaging and changing of scales to try and make the observations match each other, you lose some specific information. And that specific information might actually make this result warmer as well as colder. but we don't really know. That's why we have what we call error bars representing typical instrumental errors of types of instruments and techniques for retrieving them. And so a 0.04 Fahrenheit to 0.02 degrees Celsius difference from a previous year is very hard to justify as being significant because it is well within all of these potential errors that you get. And yet, the mainstream media goes crazy with a temperature difference that if everybody in the globe felt it uniformly across the globe, you wouldn't notice it. Your body is not very capable of noticing a 0.04 degree Fahrenheit temperature difference. Crops do not respond that much differently to that much of a difference, averaged. The key words here are average and global. And it's quite true that during parts of June, there were heat waves in various parts of the world. Europe, Alaska, had very unusually warm temperatures. Other parts of the globe had unusually cool temperatures. That's what the whole idea of an average is. And so what's really important here is not this single number, even though that is what the media fixates on. This is what politicians fixate on. This is what various ideologues on both sides of the political spectrum fixate on, and it's the wrong thing to fixate on. What we want to fixate on is what's actually happening regionally, where people live, what are the impacts. So you have a heat wave in Europe for several weeks running, that's going to have a significant impact on people. You have an impact in Alaska. It's been a horrible fire season up there, partly because of the unusual heat and drying out a lot of the fuels. That's a significant impact. Now, this past weekend and middle of the week in the eastern parts of the U.S., you have significant impacts from the heat and humidity. You have other impacts elsewhere. So what I'm getting at is this whole notion of looking at a single number, which is itself potentially so small that it's statistically insignificant, and giving it undue significance is a load of crap. And while scientifically, NOAA, as an agency, feels it needs to report this type of a simplistic number, I wish they would stop. I wish they would give much more detailed information and find a way to force the media to use it. They do provide the more detailed media information on the website. But if you're a media reporter and you've got 5 million other things to do, or if you have your own ideological bent, you're going to pick the number and work with it the way that you want to. And this does a major disservice to the people who rely on the media, and it's one reason I rely a lot less on the mainstream media for anything with respect to news at all, but especially with respect to science. The phrase, "don't trust the media," is probably very applicable here. This is a topic I've hit on a couple of times before, but in this particular case, in the current political climate where everyone wants to go hysterical over the slightest thing, I'm going to tell you your hysteria is probably unfounded, and making a lot out of a 0.04 Fahrenheit global statistic is bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on it, and I'm just going to say it right now like that, because you can't statistically say globally that one number is significantly different from 2 years ago. This can go up quite a ways. 0.04 is an extremely small temperature difference. Most instrumental errors, observational errors, representativeness errors are on the order of 1 to even 2 degrees Fahrenheit, if not slightly more in certain parts of the world. So you're talking a few percentage points of even that. So it's way far from being significant. Relax. Go have a cold beer somewhere, or a nice glass of wine, or a mojito, or iced tea, or whatever you like, and enjoy the summer. For now, that's this edition of the Daily Bolt. Have a good night, afternoon, morning, and God bless.